Hello, everyone. Can you hear us? See us?
Yes.
Yes, I can see you.
Yes. Prof. Tom, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yes, we can hear.
Right.
No, loud and clear.
All right, good.
Nice. Keep coming. The more, the better.
We kept it free and easy, so no specific registration. We just gave the link to all. So whoever wants to come in, so no pressures.
That's good.
So we're waiting for Prof. Jaspal actually. So our Vice Chancellor in MUCM.
That's good. You can gather, this amount of people to watch something at a given time in a university, because you are from different countries and everybody has a different role at the university. Sometimes it's tough.
Good morning and good evening to all. So my name is Arasu. I'll be the MC for today's event. So we'll wait for 5 more minutes for that participant to join.
Hello. Okay, Prof. Jaspal is here already.
Shall we?
Hi, Prof. Jaspal.
Hmm? Hi, Dr. Rajiv. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Prof. Rajiv.
So can we start now?
Good afternoon, Dr. Yeah.
All right.
Prof. Jaspal, I can't see him actually. Let's just. I saw him entering actually.
Hi, Govardhan. I hope I pronounced your name right.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There, Prof. Jaspal is there.
Uh,
Yes, Arasu.
Tom, how are you?
I'm good, sir. I'm good, sir. So this is our
How
speaker,
are you?
Miss Eliza.
Okay.
Miss Eliza, this is Prof. Jaspal, our Vice Chancellor for Manipal University College, Malaysia.
Nice meeting you
Hi.
and all of you.
All right. So good morning and good afternoon to all. So welcome to our first health and wellness talk, which is organized by MERG Health and Wellness. So before we start to our event, so let me tell some ground rules for today's event. So kindly keep all sound producing devices in silent mode, and all participants will be muted during this session. There will be a video recording of the session and photograph will be taken. By attending the session, you have given your verbal consent to the recording and photography. Do not eat with the camera on. All questions can be written in the chat box, which will be addressed by speaker after the presentation. Now, I would like to call upon our VC, MUCM, Prof. Jaspal Singh, for the welcome address. Over to you, Prof. Jaspal.
Okay.
Okay. Is it my turn to talk now or somebody else? I didn't hear that last sentence.
Prof. Jaspal as the welcome address.
Say that again.
Prof. Jaspal.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Prof.
Yes.
Jaspal will give a welcome address, Miss Eliza.
Okay, all right, I hear that.
Welcome everybody from the Manipal family, from Malaysia, from Dubai, from India, Nepal, and of course, Malaysia. Well, today the inaugural health talk session is organized by MERG Health and Welcome team. This talk will now focus on the medical, or let's say mental health, and its impact on the quality of life. Hope all of you would benefit from today's session. The team I know has had a very successful event with the health quiz contest, which was conducted last week, and they received a very high rating of 4.92. Well done. Let's hope we can do a good job today. I know various health activities have been planned for the year, and I wish everyone all the best. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Jaspal, for your speech. Now, I want to call upon the President of MERG Health and Wellness, Prof. Som Subradev, for the opening address. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Arsu. I will not take much time because Prof. Jaspal has welcomed everybody, and I also add on to that welcome. And we can see that our numbers are growing here, 86. So once it touches 100, we will on the YouTube link in the chat box. But the only thing that I want to do to all the team plus the members that are there is to introduce our MERG Health and Wellness team. So I'm not going to take much time. I'm just going to share a small video which will show you who belongs to our team or who are in our team. So let's have a look. Would like to thank Jayant for creating this lovely video, and as well as Roma to take care of this particular talk session. So thank you very much. We welcome you all once again, and we hope you'll have a lovely 1 hour session that we are looking forward to. Back to you, Arasu.
Thank you, Prof. So before we start, so we're going to have some photo sessions. So I would like to request all the participants to switch on your cameras, please.
Okay, I'll help take the photo.
All right.
We'll give another few minutes more for people to on their camera. Okay, so we have 2 pages, so please bear with me. Okay. All right, first page. In 3, 2, 1. Since moving on to the second page, please hold on because we don't know whether you're there in the second page or first page. In 3, 2, 1. I see a lot of people not owning the camera. That's okay. Your names are still there. Okay, back to you, Arasu. Photos taken.
Okay, thank you, Prof. So now I'll pass it to Miss Roma to introduce our speakers today. Over to you, Miss Roma.
Yeah, thank you, Arasu. Hello, everyone. I'm Roma Rena from Mahe, Dubai. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce to our speaker, Miss Eliza Hatoum, who is going to talk about the impact of poor mental health on your quality of life. Miss Eliza Hatoum, the founder of The New Me, is an international life coach, a certified cognitive behavioral therapist, and an industrial organizational psychologist. She studied and worked in United States for the past 7 years and is currently living in Dubai. As a certified life coach, she has helped clients set and achieve goals in their personal and professional lives, held them to high standards, and empowered them to live life on their own terms. As a counselor, she worked with refugees in camps who were forced to flee their country due to war. Her role as a counselor at the refugee camp was to raise awareness about the mental illness, conduct individual and group therapy sessions, and provide adults and young kids with better coping strategies. She always believes that life is what you make it. Miss Eliza, we are really delighted to have you here today, And with your fresh thoughts and optimistic approaches, I'm sure everyone is going to take up a lot from this interesting session. So please join me in welcoming Miss Aliza. And now finally over to you, Miss Aliza. We are all eager to listen to the talk. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this nice introduction. I'm not going to add more on that. You said it nicely. I am located now in Dubai. I am the founder of The New Me. The New Me is a counseling and coaching company. We offer mental health counseling or different types of coaching, ranging from life coaching, relationship coaching, career coaching, to executive coaching. So I'm gonna start sharing our screen now and see what you think about mental health after this webinar. Yalla, are you ready? I'm gonna just share my first slide of my screen, and then we're gonna start with an activity. And then after that, we're gonna see more slides. And when we have an activity, I will send you a link in the chat box. All you have to do is just click on the link and write your name, and you will automatically join the game. All right? Is Numi inspired from Rumi? New Me, it's The New Me. Actually, I chose this name because when I was thinking about a company name, I didn't want a name that remind people of their psychological disorders or like something bad. I just wanted it to be positive. And the great thing about it, when I'm coaching my clients or when I'm counseling a client, after a while, they would say to me something like the old me would do that, but the new me won't do this because 1, 2, 3. So that's the main idea behind the name. All right, let's share. One second. Okay. So our webinar today will be about the impacts of poor mental health on academic performance, work performance, and quality of life. As we all know, being not well, emotionally unhealthy, or psychologically unhealthy impact every aspect of our life. It is much more than just having an illness. An illness impact our work. We won't be able to concentrate at work, and illness impact our quality of life because the way we communicate with other people, the people around us and with our families change as well. And our academic performance and work performance, of course, will get affected because we won't have the needed amount of energy or motivation to do these things. So we are going to start by a small activity right now before we dive into the things that we are going to discuss, okay? I am just gonna send you a link into the chat box, okay? I'm gonna stop sharing this screen and I will share this screen now. Just bear with me one moment. Okay. Okay, here is the link here. Maybe not all of you might be able to answer because we didn't expect that many people to be here, which is great. You just have to click on the link right now. You got it?
Miss Eliza, the quiz slide is not showing. You have to
Oh,
share
it's
that.
not showing? Okay,
No.
give me 1 second. Do you see it now?
It exceeded 25 players already.
Okay. Are you able to answer these? So these are your answers. The question was, after experiencing those symptoms, have you considered seeking help from a mental health professional? And one said no, because these symptoms do not require professional help. The second one said, no, I never thought about it. 3 people said yes, but I couldn't afford seeking professional help. And 4 people said, yes, I sought help.
We didn't see the questionnaire actually. A lot of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's weird because they come on the same page.
The question is on top actually.
Game has
Sorry?
exceeded the 25 player limit.
Okay, don't worry about it. We're not gonna make a big deal out of this. Okay. Let's do this now. I'll go back to the screen. I'll just explain to you what it means because it's supposed to be more number of participants that are allowed to participate. Okay. So, do you see it now?
Yes, can see.
Okay. So, the reason we did this short, tiny quiz that didn't go as planned because we are a lot of participants. So it's just that people who experience, physical pain, people who experience some rapid heart rate, some people start experiencing, problems in their digestive system, people who start getting lazy over time, they just don't seek help because they don't know that those are symptoms of depression or any type of disorder. So now we are going to talk about the myths and the misconceptions about mental health. And the reason we don't seek help is because most of us don't know what these things mean because we never get educated enough about them. So the first myth and misconception about mental health is that mental illness is rare and will not happen to me. While in fact, mental illness can happen to anyone, regardless of sex, age, race, and depression alone affects 121 million people worldwide and is one of the most common mental health problems. So just like when we think of cancer, we be like, oh, it's too bad people are going through it, but our mind doesn't think that I might get it. So we always think that it's okay to have people sick, but I will never get mentally ill. While in fact, depression is very common. The second myth is that mental illness is a sign of weakness. And this is one of the really bad misunderstandings about depression or mental illness in general, because admitting to yourself that there is something wrong with you, that doesn't make you weak, that make you strong actually. Mental illness is never a sign of weakness. It is a medical condition. Depression is a chemical imbalance in the brain that can be treated. When you start experiencing depression, there is something about your levels of serotonin that isn't leveled out. So just like you have vitamin D deficiency, just by thinking that you are fine, you're not going to boost your vitamin D levels. It will take some vitamin, D. You have to take vitamin D supplements for like, I don't know, 3 months, and then you get tested again and you see what happened. But when it comes to mental illness, people think it's a sign of weakness. It's not a medical condition, because still in our society, we don't know what mental illness exactly is. We just think that it's something that, we think about. And if we are strong, we're just going to overcome it. Another myth is that mental illness is temporary and it will go away by itself. And here is the bad thing about this idea. Mental illness, sometimes it might be temporary. Suppose like you lost someone that you love, somebody who's, who meant to you a lot, a partner, a father, anyone who means a lot to you. And you just don't get treated, you will just get worse over time. It won't go away over time. Sometimes you might experience those things for like a short period of time, but most of the time, if you dive into depression or anxiety and you leave yourself without any type of treatment, your situation actually will get worse. It will not go away by itself. It is a medical condition that requires treatment and support. And the thing is, think about it this way. You are on a scale from 1 to 10. So suppose you go to the doctor when you are like 4 at the scale from 1 to 10. Maybe if you are 4, just by doing some therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, you will feel better. But if you are 10 in depression, it's like you're getting suicidal. You have no clarity. You aren't aware of what's going on with you. You don't know anything. So it is really, really important to seek help. If we feel that we aren't feeling well, there is no shame in that. And another myth, of course, is that mental illness cannot be treated. So people might think, why would I go in the first place? It's not going to get treated. Sometimes people, come up with this idea just so they convince themselves that, it's not, I don't have to blame myself. It just can't get treated. So mental illness, in fact, especially depression, when we say mental illness is a big word, but in this webinar, I focus on the most common types of mental illness, which is depression and anxiety and other things as well. So depression by itself is among the most treatable of all mental health conditions. The World Health Organization reported that 60 to 80% of individuals positively respond to a combination of medication and psychotherapy treatments. So generally, when we get diagnosed with depression, let's say, sometimes medication by itself doesn't work. Sometimes therapy by itself does not work. Sometimes it does, but generally a combination of treatments is always the best way to treat a disorder. Mental illness can only be treated by medication. I hear this, all the time. I'm sure you've heard it too. Maybe some of you believe it as well. And it makes me really sad that people believe this because it prevents them from seeking help. Mental illness can be treated with many different interventions. Medication is not the only way to treat medication. And medication is only one of the available options for treatment of mental illness. There are other psychological interventions that are highly effective at treating mental illness. And most importantly, not all medications that treat mental health illnesses are addictive. Because I hear it from so many people, from my clients all the time that, I might do therapy, but no, I don't want to get treated because I don't want to get medication because I'm going to get addicted. And it's just not true, because when it comes to medication, we have 2 different types of medication, more than that, but generally we have different types of medication that a doctor will use to treat you. Some of them are from a category called SSRIs, which is short for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And the other ones are like Xanax. They're from a category called benzodiazepines. And those are like Xanax and Valium. These are, you know, made to target your nervous system. So when you take them, you know, they just kind of like shut you down. You don't feel like you want to do anything. Those medications, if you take them for more than 6 months, you might get addicted to those, but no doctor will prescribe you those medication in a way that will get you addicted in the future. Well, SSRIs work absolutely in a different way. They just level out the serotonin in your brain just to make you feel better, because serotonin affects mood. And when our mood gets affected, our appetite will get affected, our sleep will get affected, everything will get affected. So once we do that, we won't have this problem. It might level out serotonin, we might take it for a while and then stop it, and then we'll be fine. Sometimes it requires a longer treatment, but it's definitely not addictive. SSRIs aren't addictive. Let me just check if there's any question for me now. Okay, I will answer all of your questions just at the end of this, okay? Okay, here's another thing. I am afraid to talk about my mental illness for fear that it will make it worse. So many people think that, oh my gosh, if I open up right now, it's going to be a disaster. I just can't open up and talk. And it's always better to open up and talk than burying your feelings and just, you know, suppressing your feelings, because you might think it's working for the moment, but in the future, it will literally destroy you. Many people who develop panic disorders, like at some point in their life, have a type of personality where they just, you know, conceal their feelings. They don't say anything, even if something bothers them. They just think that they could bury it down and nobody will know that these feelings ever existed. It's just very unhealthy. Talking about your feelings, as I said, allows you to air your problems, seek assurance, and find solutions. Now, maybe sometimes it's better to talk to some people, but not other people, you know? But that doesn't mean you should not talk about them. Sometimes saying them out loud to yourself is better than just thinking it and not saying any word about it. If you are like in a room by yourself and you feel like there's something really bothering you, if you just say it out loud, you'll be surprised that it will make you feel better than not saying anything at all. And people feel that I do not need a doctor because they think I am lazy rather than depressed or mentally ill. So generally, people who get depressed, they look like they're lazy, like they're losers, that they just don't want to do anything. Brushing their teeth seems like, you know, a big task in the morning, and people around them start perceiving them as, you know, not successful, very lazy, losers. But in fact, they are going through something that we don't know about. Depression takes away a lot of energy from a person. Loss of interest in usual activities is common and should not be misunderstood as a sign of laziness. So generally, when you are going through depression, you just withdraw socially from the people that you used to hang out with. So if you used to like going out and having lunch together maybe twice a week and be like around a lot of people, then, you know, your friends will ask you and you'll be like, you know what, I'll pass. I just can't do it. And then people will start complaining, oh, you know, you're just a party bummer. You don't want to go. We always make plans and you just ruin our plans because you're so moody. But they don't know that this behavior isn't just, you know, something that a person enjoys to do. There is an underlying cause behind it. You know what, since we not going to do the activities, let's answer some of your questions before we, you know, talk for like 30 more minutes. Okay. So somebody asked me, what are the early symptoms of depression? The early symptoms of depression, I will answer them maybe 2 slides after this one. That's why I answer in the end, because I have a lot of things that might answer your questions. Okay, any patient with hallucination and schizophrenia issues can be resolved with cognitive behavioral therapy. Generally, people who are suffering from schizophrenia is one of the psychological disorders that requires medication before any type of treatment, because there is some things that a person experiences with schizophrenia, like voices, they see things, and those things won't like calm down or go away unless we use medication. And therapy, some type of behavioral therapy along with that, will help us cope with these images that we see and the voices that are like annoying us all the time. Okay, so somebody asked, you're afraid that medicines will make you addictive to them? I'm not sure if you said that before we explained that they aren't addictive. They aren't addictive, actually. As I said, SSRIs are not addictive. They just level out the chemical imbalances in your brain, such as serotonin. Just like we have dopamine. Dopamine, it's a neurotransmitter that makes us happy. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that regulates mood. And if this neurotransmitter is imbalanced, we start displaying symptoms of anxiety and depression. SSRIs, things that are called antidepressants, generally treat depression and anxiety at the same time. And those are not addictive. So suppose you take them for 2 years. When you want to stop them, for every year, you spend 1 month. So you start by cutting down the dosage until you feel like you are ready to get out of it. And of course, your doctor will tell you how to do that properly. Phones are addictive. I think, yeah, we all have this type of addiction. Okay. What would be my advice to people who are dealing with disability or mental neuro issues with one of their family members, especially the way to handle this in terms of balancing with this work stress? So generally, people who have someone in the family going through a condition, people try to do something called like family therapy. And with what family therapy does, it just helps people understand each other while they are going through this tough time, so they know how to cope with the problem without irritating the sick person, because that might happen a lot. We can discuss this later, of course. Does insurance cover mental health? Are there any stigma around mental health when it comes to office space? Insurance cover mental health depends on your type of insurance. It's unfortunate that not all types of insurance cover mental health problems, and this is why it's still very stigmatized. They think sometimes it's a luxury to seek a therapist and figure out what's going on with you. How should you know whether we are having depression or we are just too stressed? When you get diagnosed with depression, this is the last question I'm gonna answer right now, and I'll move on and answer them later. When we want to diagnose someone with depression or anxiety, just by saying, I feel low, I feel lazy, maybe there's something wrong with me, I feel too depressed, that does not give us the right to diagnose someone with depression or anxiety. The symptoms should stay persistent for a period of time, for like a certain period of time before we say that, okay, I am diagnosed with something. Sometimes though 5 or maybe 5 symptoms or more should persist for a period of over 6 months. Well, if someone is displaying those symptoms, we can pick up that, something might be a little off with this person. So we try to see what's going on before they get really, really depressed. So here's what I'm going to share with you guys. This is a research study done by me. This was my thesis as a master's student. And I was interested to see if whether an attempt to raise awareness about mental illness through an interactive webinar increases one's likelihood to seek help when experiencing a mental health issue. So the key to end ignorance and make people knowledgeable and empower them about, anything, it's by educating them. And generally, most of us, we don't know about these things because we just, listen to what people say. We listen to people's beliefs in our culture. And, these opinions and perspectives affect us deeply because we are not getting educated properly about them. So as a master's student, I was interested, what would happen if we, raise awareness about mental health to, in like university settings or like in schools? What would that do to people? Would make people, more open to do these things? So my study had 50 participants. We had a control group that wasn't required to watch any webinar related to mental health. And I had 25 people in the experimental group that was required to watch a live webinar about mental health hosted by me. And then after that, both groups were asked to fill out a survey. The survey had this scenario, something that, discusses indirectly a mental health problem. So it goes like, your best friend that you grew up with moved to a different town that is an hour away from your home. After a while, you find it really hard to adjust to the fact that your best friend doesn't live in the same town as you. As a result, you lost interest in everything that used to make you happy. You started feeling down and moody to the extent that you couldn't get up in the morning and do your usual activities. So these things like couldn't get up, do your usual activities, they are signs of depression that might affect people who, who had a situation like this person in this scenario. And I asked 3 questions based on this scenario. One of the questions was, having a mental illness is as serious as any other physical illness. And the options were mental illness is not that big of a deal. A strong person can overcome mental illness easily. No, mental illness can never be as dangerous as physical illness. Yes, mental illness is life-threatening if left untreated. So just see the difference. I had the control group, the mean average of the control group who answered those questions was 2.68. Only 3 people who did not watch the mental health webinar thought that mental illness is life-threatening if left untreated. But the people who watched the webinar, 23 out of 25, only 2 people believed that mental illness can never be as dangerous as physical illness, while 23 agreed that yes, mental illness is life-threatening if left untreated. The other questions in the survey, I didn't put all the options because I want to discuss other things, but they were like, what will you do in this situation according to the scenario? Or like, how likely would you seek help if you faced a mental health issue? And having a mental illness is as serious as having a physical illness. And as predicted, results supported our hypothesis that raising awareness about mental illness increases one's likelihood to seek help when experiencing a mental health issue. There was a significant difference between the participants' responses in the control group and the experimental group. Mental health is really highly stigmatized. And according to our findings, of course, that may be because people lack knowledge. So people who thought that it's not as dangerous is because they never got educated properly about this topic to know. And the difference between the 2 groups was significant at the level of 0.01. To have anything statistically significant in our findings, it has to be at least 0.05. That was 0.01. So when people get educated about the topic, they just knew the difference. They changed their mind about it. Now here in this slide, I'm just going to talk about the underestimated symptoms of depression and answer someone's question that asked me that earlier in the chat box. Specific physical symptoms associated with a state of autonomic arousal, such as sweating, dizziness, and shortness of breath. Those are symptoms that we might experience, but we, might not give them any attention because we don't think, they are something we have to be worried about. And generalized somatic complaints. So we start complaining that, I can't sleep well, I'm not sleeping enough, or I'm sleeping too much. Restlessness, you always feel like, you're on the edge. And muscle aches. One of the things that people experience when they are going through depression or anxiety are muscle aches. Their muscles ache all the time. And if they have like a certain thing that is causing them, some type of muscle problem, it will hurt much more just because they are more susceptible to experiencing pain when they are going through depression or anxiety, or like the combination of both. Changes in habits. So things that used to make people happy will not make them happy anymore because, they withdraw socially and they just don't have the energy to do all of these things. Persistent fatigue. They get tired all the time. It seems like a big deal to do the simplest thing, even to go to the store, maybe get a cab, a bottle of water. Difficulty focusing or making decisions. I mean, no surprise that people who are going through these things will experience difficulty in making decisions because they aren't sleeping well, they're on the edge, so their body is like always tired. Unending worry, you go to sleep and you just keep thinking about, things that will just upset you. And if you fix this problem, you start thinking, okay, what am I going to worry about next? What's the next thing that I can think about that will make me, worried? And you just like to be alone because you don't have too much energy to engage with people, and you lose interest in everything. So if you have experienced any of those, or if you know anyone who have gone through these things, these are symptoms to be concerned about. These aren't normal symptoms just because someone is being lazy or someone, is a party bummer or moody. Now, what causes mental illness? If we think about it, okay, so what causes mental illness? Where did this disease come from to ruin my life or my family's life? There are many things that cause mental illness. There are some people who have a predisposition to develop a certain disorder because of some genetic links. And there are other people who go through some things that make them, experience a disorder that maybe no one in their family has experienced before. So we have more than one factor that, makes someone susceptible to develop a mental illness. We have a personality type, genetics, environment, and life stressors. So genetics, just like diabetes run in families, mental illness run in families as well. And some illnesses have a stronger genetic link more than other illnesses. For example, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. These disorders have a stronger genetic link. I think bipolar alone, if you have someone in your family who is bipolar, you have maybe an 80% chance to become bipolar. I have to check exactly the percentage, but it's about something like that, to be, to give birth to a child and, suffer from bipolar disorder. Another thing is environment. But one thing that I want to mention about genetics, it's if you have, a strong genetic link to develop a disorder, you should really take care of yourself. But still, sometimes, even if you take care, just because you have a strong genetic link, you might still get a mental disorder. So just like diabetes, they tell you, you have diabetes, it runs in the family, you watch your food, you work out, you do everything, but at some point in your life, you will get it. But it might not hurt you, that bad if you take care of yourself. Environment, the environment that we live in and the life stressors that we go through play a big role in developing a mental disorder. And sometimes mental disorders can be learned, believe it or not, through modeling behavior. So suppose I am living with my grandma who has obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. So this is where, like, you know, she likes to keep things clean all the time, to organize stuff. You know, she fixes her closet and she put things in order, colors in order. She wants everything to be neat and clean. So I live with this grandma and I see her doing these things all the time. And then if I don't do the things that she is doing the same way she is doing them, she will tell me, like, what are you doing? This is not supposed to be like that. You should do it like this in order. So you just think that you are doing something nice to please your grandma because, of course, your grandma is older than you and she knows better about this stuff more than you. And then you just do them. Now, what you don't know, you just learned this disorder from your grandma. So just by watching her do the stuff, you start doing them, and then it just becomes a part of you. It's like, you know, part of your identity. This is how we do things. So when you see other people doing them in any other way, you'll be like, yeah, but this is not the way we're supposed to do them, which is normal, of course, because this is the thing that you learned from this person, and you look up for this person as well. And life stressors as well. So suppose you, you know, you were so close to your dad and somehow your dad passed away and you just couldn't cope with this problem very well. Now you might think, okay, my friend lost her dad. She didn't, you know, go through the same things that I went through. Here's the thing. If your friend was able to get out of the situation without having a mental disorder or going through something really, you know, painful, that does not apply to you. We are all different. I might experience 5, you know, really bad things in my life and not get affected by one. And maybe my friend will you know, go through something very simple or is nothing compared to what I've been through. And she might, you know, get really crazy over these things. So when it comes to mental health, make sure do not compare yourself with other people. Just don't compare yourself with other people. If you developed a disorder because your father passed away and you couldn't cope very well, that doesn't make you weak. That just make you emotional. This is who you are. You lost your father. This is what you experienced. All you have to do is accept what you are feeling and seek help. Do not bury your emotions. Do not suppress them because it will only get worse over time. Another thing that will contribute to that is personality type. So as you may know, we have people who have type A personality and type B personality. So generally people with type A personality are high achievers, you know, they're perfectionists, they want to do everything perfect. They're like workaholics. People who are like that, they put themselves under too much stress. And if they don't achieve what they want, they just get so disappointed, which will affect their mental health. So generally people with type A personality are like really high achievers, but their health isn't as good as type B personality, because type B personality, they're easygoing, they're just calm, they just don't get too overwhelmed with, like, you know, overachieving and being a perfectionist. And some people actually with low self-esteem are more prone to developing a disorder than other people because they tend to take things personal and, you know, dwell on thoughts and think about them, which could, you know, put them down and make them think, you know, badly of themselves, that they aren't, you know, good enough, they aren't confident enough. All of these things might contribute to causing a mental illness. So there is not one thing that we just, you know, could put our finger on and say, oh, this is it. There's not one thing. Sometimes it's a combination of things. Most of the times, actually, it's a combination of things. So you should seek a counselor if you are experiencing any of the following cognitive symptoms. So when you are going through or like experiencing a mental disorder, say you are going through depression. Depression will give you cognitive symptoms, will give you physical symptoms, And we'll give you other symptoms as well. So the cognitive symptoms are things like negative or trouble thinking, difficulty concentrating, reduced action time, memory loss, difficulty making decisions, and ruminating. So if you're experiencing any of those, that means your disorder is kind of like exhausting you cognitively. Behavioral symptoms, just like the ones we explained before, feeling of worthlessness or guilt. You start dwelling on the past and blaming yourself for, things that you should have done and you didn't do. Long-lasting sadness or irritability. Something simple happens throughout your day and you just get very sad. And you might start, seeing people around you. You might start hearing from people around you, it's not that big of a deal. What's wrong with you? Why you're making a big deal out of this? It just something you can't control. You get sad over a little thing and it lasts a long time. Social withdrawal, you'd like to be on your own because you don't have enough energy. And extremely high and low mood. So this is what we call mood swings. Suddenly you're very happy and then you're very sad. Suddenly you want to go out with your friends. Oh, come on, let's go out. And they'll be like, you know what? I just don't want to go. Why? What's wrong with you? I just don't want to go, Loss of interest or pleasure in most or all normal activities. And this will include sex, hobbies, or sports. And then, of course, you will start thinking, okay, life is not worth anything. I don't want to achieve this goal that I thought is, very important to me or will make me very happy. So you start lacking interest in achieving your goals as well. And here are the physical symptoms. Many unexplained physical problems, stomach pain, backache, increased heart rate. Stomach pain and IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, is among the most common symptoms of depression. And many people suffer from this problem and nobody can figure out easily that it's caused by depression or some other mental illness. Most of them, they go to, the doctor and they would run some tests and they will do some, scans and they just don't find anything. But they don't know that these things are the byproduct of a mental disorder. Weakness and fatigue, we discussed that. Pounding heart rate or increased heart rate. Some people experience heart palpitations and they go to the doctor and they, run some tests because they believe there's something wrong with their heart. While it's a pure, sometimes anxiety or something caused by a mental disorder. Although you feel it physically, but it's nothing. It's nothing to be concerned about physically, which means that your heart is healthy, but it's just pounding. Trembling or shaking, I'm sure many of us have experienced that. Sleep disturbances. Sometimes you feel you're out of breath. You do something and you're just out of breath, but you didn't do that much to be out of breath. And sometimes you'll be sitting in your chair or on the couch and you feel out of breath and you sweat. So those are the physical symptoms of having a mental disorder. Not all mental disorders, between anxiety and depression. So impacts of poor mental health on academic performance. So here's the thing. You have a mental disorder, you have hard time concentrating and learning, therefore it makes it hard for you to make decisions. And when you are in this situation, what will happen later? You start doubting your ability and you appear less confident because you weren't able to concentrate in the first place. And because of that, you didn't learn the things that you were supposed to learn. And as a result of that, you just couldn't make the right decisions. And here, where you start doubting your ability, appear less confident, and feel less confident. And when we experience all of these things, we start experiencing work burnouts, inability to get along with colleagues, and irrational behaviors. So work burnouts are the byproduct of a lot of stress, you know, compiled stress over a period of time. And this is why we experience work burnouts. And the inability to get along with colleagues because, you know, I just don't feel myself. And irrational behavior. So someone asks you to, you know, could you please, you know, print out this paper while you're going to this room, or like what if the printer is next to you, what do you want from me? You know, I don't want to print it out. Why you keep asking so much? You know, just, you know, little things will make you just go crazy. Impacts of poor mental health on quality of life. So definitely it will have a negative effect on relationships and family members. Displaced aggression, anger, and irrational beliefs. Displaced aggression is something like you go to work, your boss tells you to do something, you get very mad, but you couldn't say anything to him because he's your boss. You come home and you start yelling at your kids. This is displaced aggression. You get angry and you start holding irrational beliefs. Irrational beliefs are unrealistic beliefs, you know, things like, you know, I'm not good enough, you know, my life isn't worth living, or like the work that I'm in is just not good, I want to do something else, difficulty performing daily activities, social withdrawal. So it's all like if one thing happens, it will lead to so many other things. If you start having negative effect on relationships and family members, this will cause many other things with it. So mainly we start holding irrational beliefs because we aren't thinking very well. Now, things to do if you are experiencing symptoms of mental illness. I'll explain this slide and I'll take your questions, okay? And then I'll continue. So the first thing that I suggest, of course, as a professional, seek professional help, because people who are going through depression and anxiety, they are living inside the box and they just can't figure out what's going on with them. Seek professional help because you need clarity. Sometimes if you tell your people or friends around you, they might try to help you, but you don't get what you want from them. They might judge you, or they might tell you, you know what, I've been through this, why are you making such a big deal about that? So if you tell your friend or like a family member and you don't get what you want, this might discourage you from talking. So by seeking a health professional, like a mental health counselor or a psychologist, they will look at your problems and try to find like the best way to help you cope with them without thinking what your mother would think or what your father would think or what will make them happy or what society will think. They will just focus on you. They won't judge you. And just because they don't know you, they are from outside your circle, they are able to see things with much more clarity because their emotions are not involved. The second thing is to eat healthy. Eat healthy, not because it's the solution to everything, but sometimes it is actually. Eat healthy because we should eat things that are so rich in minerals and nutrients, and try to cut down food that isn't rich in those minerals and nutrients. Something like vegetables are really great, protein are really great. Fast food is not great for us. Why? Because, believe it or not, most of our serotonin gets produced in our stomach. So the gut microbiome form these things. If we eat fast food, we are killing all of these great bacteria. So eating carbs will definitely kill all these great bacteria. 95% of serotonin gets produced there. So just by eating food that deprives us from these nutrients, it will affect our mental health as well. And exercise, because it increases your blood flow and therefore increases oxygen. And it will help you produce neurons, This is why when we go to the gym after a good workout, we feel good because it allows us to keep our brain cells very healthy. And the last thing that I would suggest, meditate. Meditation, I'm sure you all know about meditation much more than me, but it's bringing yourself to the moment, trying to focus on the now. It's very good if we do it 5-10 minutes every day. Sometimes people who do not know how to meditate, there are like apps that you could use, something like Headspace. It's a free app, you download it, and it tells you what to do. It's like guided meditation. So it tells you to do, to maybe sit, close your eyes, do it for like 5 minutes. Over time, it will calm you down and it will affect you in a really positive way. Let's read some of the questions. Okay. Govardhan, yes, counseling can help. But first of all, when we say early stages, we have to make an assessment to know and make sure it is still in the early stages. But generally, counseling is an amazing thing for depression, for anxiety, for most of mental health problems. So, but I can't answer you that. I can't give you a definite answer because we have to make an assessment to make sure that you are, or somebody that you know is in the early stages in the disorder. Okay, let's see. Okay. Somebody asked me, after using music therapy, tension related to work, family health issues, future ongoing disease, global warming, lots of things running in mind, how to reduce all stress and get peace. Well, this year has been a very unique year to all of us. I will provide you with some strategies to overcome this stress at the end of this webinar, some things based on emotional intelligence. And if there is anything that you want to ask me, of course, we could discuss that after the webinar. Mental illness is common and repetitive in nature and lifetime. Can you suggest any permanent solution like yoga, pranayama, or any other activities? So here's the thing. There is no permanent solution. You could do all the things that will prevent you from developing a mental health disorder, but I could be, healthy as a horse right now, and something might happen in my life that will provoke, a psychological disorder. So there is not like a regimen, something that we can do to prevent it completely. We can do so many things that will make us less likely to develop a disorder if we eat healthy, work out, exercise, meditate, of course. But we can never be certain that it will never happen to us. All these things like yoga and other things are amazing because they increase oxygen in the brain and increase blood flow. So keep doing these things. They're just really good. Snapping over small things, yeah, that displays some irritability, but we need to figure out the root cause behind it to see why people are snapping over small things. See, with mental health, it's critical. We might just say one thing, like if I am snapping over small things right now, that doesn't mean I have a disorder. Maybe something that, that happened with me a week ago. Something pissed me off and it just made me snap over things. So just to get diagnosed with a disorder, it's not that easy because, you know, you have to meet a certain criteria to be diagnosed with a disorder. Can excessive night dreams may be a symptom of mental health? See, literally no one until today understand dreams. Like we don't have a solid explanation for like why we dream or what dreams are. We have all these different type of theories, but we don't really know why we dream. But sometimes we notice that we dream much more dreams that are not very pleasant when we aren't happy or when we are like overthinking. So you are worried about work, you are worried about your income, you want to do something, you go to bed, you sleep, and then you just wake up and you just wake up annoyed from the things that you have been dreaming about. It could, you know, it could be a symptom of something. I can't say it could be a symptom of a mental health disorder, but it could be a symptom that, you know, something is not going well with you and, you know, you just need to figure that out. We could discuss that as well. Since the discussion, okay, job losses, pay cuts, business environments, challenging. Balas Sundaram, thank you for saying that. Actually, you mentioned something very important. Of course, companies can implement new interventions in their organizations to help their employees cope with stress related to COVID and stress that we might still face from COVID and this uncertainty. And it is very important when we do these things to be honest with the people that we are working with. Like, there are people who think that to make people feel less anxiety and like more peace, we should tell them that, you know, this thing is not gonna, is past, it's not gonna happen anymore, let's just move on. These things, if we say them to our employees or anyone around them, these are very unrealistic because we don't know what might happen, and promising people with something and, you know, seeing something else is very disappointing. So I think, you know, COVID has affected the entire globe, but one good thing about COVID is that it opened people's eyes about mental health. People, when they got under, you know, when they were under lockdown, when they had to do the parenting thing and teach their kids and still work from home, they just, you know, discovered that our mental health can get sick just like any other thing. And, you know, the main reason we just underestimate our mental health is just because the way our brain communicates with us is through symptoms. So if my brain is not feeling very well, I will start feeling tired. I might get a headache. I might, you know, feel down. I might feel like I am anxious. This is how my brain communicates with me. But it's not like when you break your arm, you see it, you see the blood, you run to the hospital and you tell the doctor, you better fix it for me right now because I have to write tomorrow. I have to lift things at work. It just doesn't work that way. You see the blood, you look at the pain is tangible. You could go like this and be like, it hurts. I need to figure this out because if I don't, it's a big problem. But with mental health disorders, it's just all in our thoughts and physical symptoms. So we don't give them that much attention, which is very dangerous. So just think of it this way. When you start feeling this is your brain having just some, you know, nice self-talk with you, telling you, you know, I'm not feeling well. Please help me out. The meditation app, it's called Headspace. And yes, impermanence is part of life. That is so true. We have to be ready for everything that, life might throw on us. Okay, Dr. M, your child is at was more than 1 month. I'm getting a lot of messages actually. Hold on a second, let me go up. Okay, so generally, I'm going to talk about this in general. Children who are attending online classes might be going under stress because, it's something boring for the kids. They just like to go to the school, play with their friends and do some new things. And they just had to switch this entire thing, let alone cope with COVID and being under lockdown and doing all these things. It's boring. It's something that isn't natural for a child, but somehow we had to accept it because this is the norm right now. But I think things will get better little by little. They already started to get better. They will get better because COVID is almost over. I hope it disappears in one day. But we are vaccinated. We still can do things, and the kids are getting used to the idea. Like, okay, this is the new normal. What else can we do? The app, it's called HEAD, HEAD space. Specific initiatives that I found good or recommendable are things like mental health first aid. This is where you train the staff or employees at the organization to spot things related to mental illness and know how to deal with them in case someone in the office was going through something, and offer them support. It's like a course that we could train people in the company to help them support the people in the workplace and people around them as well. Okay. Yes, Dr. Rajiv, it's called Headspace. You got that right. Okay, I'm gonna take one more question. Okay, here's the question. In the current business scenario and pandemic, most of the members in the family are connected to gadgets. Yes, that's true, unfortunately. Mostly each member of the family are in separate area. How can we guide, coach our employees to manage stress levels at home during these difficult times? Okay, so I will answer this in my next slides because I have something to tell you about them that you might find useful, and I will answer any other questions that you may have if you don't. Okay, so now some people might be thinking, I'm just gonna, wrap up very fast. Some people might be thinking, okay, so I don't have any mental health disorder. What can I do? So there's no one that can help me. And the answer to that is life coaching is the answer to that if you are going through life challenges that has nothing to do with mental disorders. You seek a life coach to address the following questions. If you are feeling lost, you know what you need to do, but you don't know how, you are doubting yourself, you want to enjoy a healthy relationship, you are planning to change your profession, but you need some guidance, and if you want to navigate through pain without deep suffering, or if you are susceptible to stress. So one important thing, life coaching is not the same as mental health counseling. A psychologist is someone who studied psychology and earns a degree in psychology. A life coach is someone who could be a life coach without any certification and someone who could become a life coach with a certification but have no previous knowledge or like degrees in psychology. So you seek a life coach when you want to deal with life challenges. Sometimes it prevents you from developing a mental disorder if the life coach is good. But if you want to treat mental disorders, things are related to your, family's mental health, things that are really critical and related to your mental health well-being, psychologist is the answer, not a life coach. Okay, I'm gonna just give you these few things very fast because they're very important. Emotional intelligence is very important. There are 5 elements into the emotional intelligence concept. There's self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. The better we score on all of these things, the easier our life. So self-awareness is the ability to know one's emotional strengths and weaknesses. Self-regulation is about controlling or redirecting one's disruptive emotions and impulses and adapting to changing circumstances. Motivation, being driven to achieve for the sake of achievement, and empathy, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. Social skills is about managing relationships to move people in the desired direction. So how to improve self-awareness? We can improve self-awareness if we keep a journal. If you spend just a few minutes each day writing down your thoughts, this can move you to a higher degree of self-awareness. And most importantly, slow down. So when you experience anger or any other strong emotions, take your time, slow down to examine why. Ask yourself, like, why am I feeling this? Remember, no matter what the situation, you can always choose how you react to it. There is action and reaction. Self-regulation, to be able to regulate yourselves, the one and most important thing is to know your values. Do you have a clear idea of where you absolutely will not compromise? So for example, someone will threaten your family. You know that I will not compromise this. So this will help you figure out how you will do the next step. What step will you take afterwards? Because you know what things are like red line and what things are not. Spend some time examining your code of ethics, your principles. If you know what's most important to you, then you probably won't have to think twice when you face a moral or ethical decision. You'll make the right choice. And hold yourself accountable. If you tend to blame others when something goes wrong with you, like, don't do that because it annoys everybody. We should be committed and admit the mistakes that we do and face the consequences, whatever they are. This is a sign of growth. So if you do something wrong, it's a sign of strength and growth if you admit to yourself, I did this thing wrong, I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to figure out a way to fix it instead of just blaming it on other people. Motivation. So when we lose motivation, if you think about it, it's very simple. We lose motivation, why? Aside from being depressed. We lose motivation because there's something that we are doing that we feel is not fulfilling anymore. So in order to improve that, re-examine why you're doing what you are doing. For example, if you are pursuing a career or a certain major, like, think about what you really love about it. Ask yourself why you want this job or career. Sometimes we find ourselves in a job we think we love, but then when we ask ourselves a couple of questions, we'll be like, yeah, but this is not what I wanted. Another thing we could do, be hopeful and find something good. This is another way of saying be positive. So motivated leaders are usually optimistic. No matter what the problem is, they are always trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel. Adopting this mindset might take practice, but it's well worth the effort. Sometimes if we just, write down affirmations and we hang them on the mirror or the places that we look at most of the time, it helps you change your mind because we can rewire our brain. Just like we think negatively all the time, we can rewire our brain to think positively. Empathy. Too bad these quizzes won't take more than 25 participants. That was a nice quiz. But anyway, hopefully next time. Empathy, this is the most important thing. So we should put ourselves in someone else's position, because it's always easy to support our point of view. After all, it's ours. But take the time to look at situations from other people's perspectives. And just to clarify, empathy is not sympathy. Empathy is when you really put yourself in somebody else's shoes and feel their pain. Sympathy, it's more like, yeah, you know, you're right, this is a hard thing, but you know, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but sometimes you tell a person, you know, about something that you are going through, and they'll be like, yeah, well, it's okay, I am with you, you should have ended this, but let's move forward, let's do that. This is, you know, still nice, but this is sympathy. It's not bad, but it's not as good as empathy, because you are literally putting yourself in other people's shoes and feeling what they are going through. It's like when you cry when you're watching TV or like a Ramadan series. This is empathy, because you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and this is why you started crying. The second thing to improve empathy is to respond to feelings. You ask your friend to work late on your group project again, and although he or she agrees, you can hear the disappointment in their voices. So respond by addressing their feelings. Tell them how much you appreciate their efforts. Don't be silent about these things. Always tell people how much you appreciate them and how much you appreciate their efforts. The last one is social skills. Always plan your communication. So ask yourself, why are you communicating? You can do that whether you are doing it with your husband, with your wife, with your friends, you're talking to the dean at the college, everyone. Ask yourself, why are you communicating? And with whom are you communicating? And what do you need them to know? These questions help us organize what we are trying to say. So we just say the things that are necessary. And plan what you want to say and how you send the message. So for example, I want to discuss with my wife, or okay, let's say wife. I want to discuss with my wife like a certain issue. Maybe I am emotional at the moment, and if I start just talking right away, I might just say so many things that has nothing really to do with the problem that I'm dealing with. So plan your communication very well. And if you are communicating with someone at your workplace, suppose the dean, like plan a nice and clear scenario that you're planning to communicate with the dean to deliver a nice message and get what you want without wasting your time and other people's time. And sometimes if you can run a trial with the people that you know, seek feedback on how well your message was received. And the last thing, and the most important thing, is active listening. Well, if you ask people, are you an active listener? They would say, oh yeah, definitely I am. And you will ask them define active listening, and they will say, well, I listen to people's problems, and I give them advice, and I just, keep listening to them without any type of judgment. Active listening is the process of listening attentively while someone else speaks without interruption. To show them that you are listening actively, you paraphrase what they are saying and you reflect back without judgment or advice. So basically, you have to be all eyes and ears when someone is talking to you. And you just listening to what this person is saying. You aren't too much overwhelmed with your thoughts or like what you are going to say when this person stops saying, or how you're going to validate a point that you strongly believe in. Your goal to be an active listener when you are talking is to kind of sum up, paraphrase, and reflect back on what is said. And when you say it, you are expecting the person in front of you to say exactly. If the person in front of you says exactly after you do that, that means you did the right job and you were actively listening. Okay, this brings us to the end. I'm just going to take the questions very fast. Okay. What is a life coach, and what qualifies someone to be a life coach? So generally, I myself don't think that people without proper knowledge of psychology could be life coaches. But some people are, and some of them are very influential because some of them, they have gone through something really difficult in their life and they want to educate people about the things that they have gone through. And sometimes it inspires a lot of people. The coaching industry isn't very regulated. I could just, do a course now and get a certificate in 4 hours and claim I am a life coach. Other people go through the ICF accreditations and stuff to become life coaches, but it's not as regulated as like the counseling industry. It's a totally different thing. But if someone has something that might benefit other people and not hurt them in any way, well, I don't mind about that, becoming a life coach. But generally, when you have a previous, knowledge of psychology, the human behavior, how people think, why people do what they do. So you could coach them through many things that aren't related just like purely to mental illness. Okay. How to measure the emotional intelligence level? Generally people who score high on emotional intelligence get along with people. They are good leaders, they don't cause too many problems. Not that people who do that don't score high, but there are certain qualities into that will make them more comfortable dealing with people because they are really emotionally intelligent. But to answer this question, there are some tests that you could do. You can find them online. If you want, you can just email me to the email on the screen, and I can send you something that will allow you to measure the level of emotional intelligence. Empathy, yes. It is a part of emotional intelligence, or the other way around. I think they're intertwined, It's like who came first, the egg or the chicken? Kind of like the same thing here. I think they're both important. If you have empathy, you have emotional intelligence. If you are emotionally intelligent, you are able to practice empathy, that's for sure. Let me see. Okay, I think we are done with the questions. I will stop screen sharing right now. Let me see if there is any more questions. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this session. I really enjoyed it. And I did not enjoy that the quizzes didn't work the way I wanted them to work. But we didn't expect to have 100 participants, which is great. And is there anything you want to ask me?
Miss Eliza, I think we are running a bit short of time. So we will, since you have given the email, we will share your email with them. So in case they want to get back, they'll get back to you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Arasu.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Miss Eliza. So now I have to call upon Dr. Reka to give the thanks.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, distinguished guests and dear participants. On behalf of the MERG Health and Wellness team and the organizing committee of the session, with immense pleasure, I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to our speaker, Ms. Eliza Hatum, founder of the New Me, who spared the time with her busy schedule to grace the occasion, grace the session with an extremely relevant address about impact of poor mental health on the quality of life. She rightly talked about the myths of mental health, causes of mental illness, symptoms of anxiety, depression, and how poor mental health can affect our academic performance and quality of life. Thank you, Ms. Eliza, also for answering most of the questions. And I take this opportunity to specially express my deep regards and gratitude to Prof. Jaspal, the Vice Chancellor of MUCM, for providing us opportunities to organize such events. Thank you, Prof. Special thanks to our President of MERG Health and Wellness team, Prof. Som, for his unfaltering support, for the technical support, and for the guidance he has extended to all of us. Thank you, Prof. Sincere thanks to Mr. Kenneth for making the flyer and the poster of the event, and my deep sense of appreciation and thanks to all the participants who chose to be live with us and attended the session with great enthusiasm and made it a successful event. Our heartfelt congratulations to the organizing team for your hard work, which has made this mental health awareness session a memorable one for all of us. Once again, I thank you all for being with us this afternoon and have a wonderful day or evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.